Alaikum salam.
So, whenever I'm giving dawah on campus, one of the most common questions is always about violence.
Violence, okay.
And I've tried to quote verses from Quran, I've tried to go over our history. If it's Christians, I talk about the Crusades.
Okay.
Reflect and say, well, that's different.
Why is that different?
How do I approach?
The best approach is, why is it different? If a Christian kills
somebody, why is that any different than a Muslim killing somebody? In fact, I have a video, you can use it, where I asked ChatGPT, not that ChatGPT's opinion, but to look through the statistics, everything available in records, and say who were the greatest murderers of mankind. In the history of mankind, recorded history, which theology is responsible for most murders, and it's atheism. The number one most murderous individuals in the history of mankind were atheists. People like Stalin, people like Mao, who killed, depending on statistics, 200 million of their own people. Plus, so statistically, atheism kills more people than all the religions put together. Second, number two in line are Christians. World War I, World War II, the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the massacre of the people in Central and South America, the genocide of Native Americans in America, in Australia, in the Philippines, in Africa, the war in Iraq, every other war that's been started by and fought. I mean, even if you look at the two greatest world wars, both sides were Christian, with crosses. I mean, Hitler, his symbol was an iron cross, right? Even the Brits, they had in the name of the Lord and name of the Queen and King and Jesus and all that kind of stuff, right? If you look at the Crusades, they were all started from Europe. They came all the way. Most of them were not successful, but they did massacre, rape, kill, plumage, all that kind of stuff. And if you look at mass genocides, like the genocide of Jews in Germany, we always hear about this. Well, who were the ones doing it? Christians. I mean, last I checked, Germany was, at that time, a Christian country. And if you look at the Spanish Inquisition, the massacre and genocide of Jews and Muslims was at the hands of Christians. If you look at, Columbus and, all the things that happened in taming the savages of the Americas, that was all under the cross, right? So statistically, they're just wrong, right? And if you want to talk about scripture, I've got a Bible. I can show you the massacre of Amalek and the killing of infant babies and, God ordering ox and sheep and genocide and keeping of the virgins for the soldiers to gang rape. I mean, that's all in the Bible, right? So if you're a Christian, you do believe the Old Testament is sent by the same God, and those verses are currently being used by Christians and Jews to carry out violence. In fact, Netanyahu quoted the exact same verse to justify a genocide in Gaza, right? So when people try to say these things, they're just brainwashed by Fox and news and all that, right? You gotta bring facts and stats and tell them, okay, let's talk facts, right? Let's take out ChatGPT right now and ask, who's been responsible for the most? Statistically, we're not asking ChatGPT for an opinion, we're talking about numbers, right? And if you want to talk about verses, then I can show you in the Qur'an, any verse that you give me, it will be followed by something saying that incline towards peace. And any sword verse that you give me will be context of war. But I can show you the Bible where if a woman even defends her husband when he's fighting some other guy, her hand is chopped off for defending her husband. It's in the Bible. Look it up.
And if I'm not taking up too much time, usually the follow-up to the subscribe that they say, as a Christian, the Old Testament was a different time.
Okay, but who was the Old Testament from? Okay, so then Jesus ordered the massacre of Amalek. Why was that okay in that time? Can I rob you, kill you, and then say, oh, that was an hour ago, bro. Sorry. You can't hold me accountable now, it's an hour later. Like, if they say that Jesus is God, that means the God of the Old Testament is Jesus. And if Jesus ordered genocide of Amalek for something that they didn't even do, their forefathers did, and not just them, killing infant nursing children, then how do you justify that, right? If Jesus told you that today, would you do it, right? If you talk about slave beatings, and if you beat a slave and as long as they live a day, there's no punishment because that's your property, that's in the Bible, right?
Let's take the New Testament. Jesus says, I didn't come to bring peace. You think I brought peace? No, I came with a sword to put the father against the son, and son against the father, and daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and so on, right? That's in the New Testament, right? Jesus talks about a parable in the New Testament where he says, bring these people who didn't want me to reign and massacre them, kill them, slaughter them in front of me. That's in the New Testament. And you can look at any commentary of the New Testament that talks about the parable that this is about the second coming of Jesus. So let's talk verses.